stars were silent, but something had changed. A strange signal was drifting through space, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. No one knew where it came from, but it was old, very old. It had the signature of a long-dead world, a blue planet. Once full of life, a place that the galaxy had almost forgotten. Earth, most believed, Earth was gone. Burned, empty, destroyed by time or war. Some said it had been swallowed by its own sun. Others said the humans destroyed themselves. No one really cared anymore. This was just another ancient myth in a galaxy full of dead worlds. But then the signal appeared, faint, broken, yet clear. The words were in a language almost no one remembered English. A patrol ship picked it up near the edge of the Vargan system. The ship was small, old, and crewed by young alien explorers from the Cyrix Alliance. They were not soldiers, just scouts. Curious, bored, and always looking for something exciting. Captain Drell, a tall insectoid with silver wings, watched the signal on his screen. He didn't understand the language, but the pulse gave him chills. "It's coming from Sector 19A, his navigator said, adjusting the screen. "That's what? It's an old Earth code." "Earth," Drell said, raising his brow. "I thought it was gone." "It should be," another crew member muttered. "But the signal is real. We can track it." The crew hesitated. No one liked talking about humans. Even though they were supposed to be gone, the stories still made people nervous. Stories of what humans did in the last war. Stories of what they became, but curiosity won. The ship turned toward the ancient system, following the signal through dead space. They passed broken satellites, shattered rocks, and the burned remains of ships that had drifted for centuries. And then they saw. Earth, the planet looked dead. Gray clouds wrapped around it like a funeral shroud. The oceans were still, the land cracked and dry. There were no lights, no cities, no movement, just silence. They landed near what had once been North America. The surface was covered in dust and ash. Buildings lay in ruins. Rusted metal skeletons of old machines littered the ground. The air was thin but breathable. "It's empty," Drell said, stepping out in his sealed suit. "No life signs, no power, nothing." But the signal was stronger now. They followed it to a large crater. Inside, half buried under the earth, was a round metal hatch. Old Earth tech, human-made. The signal was coming from there. The team cleared the dirt and opened the hatch. It groaned as it moved, releasing a hiss of cold air. The tunnel led downward into darkness. Lights flickered on, one by one, as they stepped inside. The tunnel led them to a vast underground chamber. There were control panels, computers, and screens. All dark. But the signal kept pulsing from deep below. They kept moving deeper into the old human facility. Dust covered everything. Some doors were sealed shut. Others had been broken long ago. Strange symbols were written on the walls. Human warnings, long forgotten. They reached a massive vault door. Unlike the others, this one still had power. A red light blinked slowly above it. And next to it, a screen lit up. A face appeared. Not a real one. A digital image. Human. Male. In a black uniform. His eyes were sharp. His face cold. He didn't blink. "Warning," the voice said in old English. "Unauthorized access detected. You have entered a restricted facility of the United Terran Command. Turn back now." The aliens stared at the screen. "It's a security AI," said one of them. "Still active." After all this time, the screen glitched. The face stared. Straight at Drill. "You are not human," it said. "You are trespassing. This is your first and final warning." Drill raised a hand. "Come in peace. We're explorers." The AI paused. Then, in a voice colder than ice, it said, "Humanity remembers everything." The vault door began to open. Alarms sounded. Red lights flashed. The crew backed away as machines stirred in the shadows beyond the door. Heavy footsteps echoed. Mechanical sounds. And something else. Breathing. "What's in there?" one of the crew asked. No one answered. Inside the vault was a large chamber filled with cryopods. Human cryopods. Hundreds of them. Some were cracked, others empty. But many still glowed, and some were opening. Drell stepped forward slowly. He looked inside one of the open pods. A man lay inside, pale skin, short hair, a tattoo on his neck. The Terran. Eagle wings spread wide. Suddenly, the man's eyes opened. He stared at Dr. L and smiled. Drell stumbled back. The human sat up slowly, breathing deep. He looked around, saw the vault, the lights, the aliens, and then he spoke in a deep voice. Time to finish the war. The lights in the chamber flickered. Other pods began to open, more humans waking. Soldiers, warriors, veterans of the last. War. Their weapons were stored in racks beside them. Their armor still worked. The aliens turned and ran. They made it back to the surface, panicked, shouting into their cums. They're alive. Humans are alive. They're waking up. The ship. Prepared for takeoff, but then power across the surface flickered. The sky turned red as old Earth satellites reactivated. Defense systems powered on. A massive cannon emerged from a mountain range nearby, turning toward the alien ship. Launch now, Drell shouted, but it was too late. The sky lit up. The alien. The ship was vaporized in a single blast. A weapon not seen in centuries. A weapon once feared across the stars. Earth was no longer dead. Underground, the humans gathered in the war room. The leader, Commander Reese, looked at the galaxy map on the screen. We were betrayed, he said to his team. Left for dead. Forgotten. But we're not dead. Another said, No, Reese agreed. We're very much alive. Tapped a button. The map zoomed out, showing the galaxy. Time to remind them who we are. He smiled, and behind him, the ancient words of Earth's forgotten warning played one last time. We asked for peace. You gave us silence. Now we return. And there will be no mercy among the stars. The signal reached farther than anyone expected. Within hours of the Earth transmission, every major government across the galaxy knew. The file was short, less than a minute, but powerful. It showed a face. Human, alive, awake. And the voice was clear, old, and filled with cold anger. We remember what you did, and we're coming. In the capital city of the Serix Alliance, 1,000 light-years away, the High Council gathered in emergency session. The chamber was shaped like a massive ring, floating above the clouds. Dozens of alien leaders sat in silence, staring at the hologram playing in the center. The human commander's face looped again. His eyes held no fear, no emotion, only purpose. They were supposed to be extinct. Someone said finally. They were, replied Counselor Velk, an old reptilian with silver scales. We saw the ruins. We saw the firestorms. Earth was dead. Then explain this, growled a feline warlord from the Car Empire. Explain how the most dangerous species in galactic history has suddenly returned. The room filled with whispers. Everyone remembered the war. Even if it had ended over 200 years ago, the memory of it still haunted their minds. Back then, humanity had united into a single power, the United Terran Command. They were smaller than most empires. Fewer planets, less advanced technology. But they were unstoppable. Humans didn't surrender. They adapted. Every loss made them stronger. Every battle taught them new tactics. They used psychology, traps, decoys, things other species never thought of. Worse, they were fast. Emotionally unstable, some said, unpredictable, willing to destroy their own planets rather than let them fall into enemy hands. And in the final days of the war, when the galaxy began to fear defeat, something dark happened. One of the human allies, the Zarn coalition, turned against them. Secret betrayal. They sent coordinates to the enemy. Earth's defenses were shut down. Orbital bombs rained for weeks. The humans were wiped out, or so everyone believed, until now. The Serix counselor stood slowly. This may be a trick, a trap, perhaps a hidden base, or a leftover AI. We must be calm. The car warlord slammed, his clawed hand on the table. Calm. If humans are waking, we are already at war. And this time, we must finish it before they do. Back in deep space, a small mercenary vessel drifted near the ruins of an old Terran ship. It was massive, black, and shaped like a blade. Cold, lifeless. The mercenary captain, a young Drek named Solon, wanted to impress his employers. He ignored the warnings. He brought his crew inside. They entered through a broken hull and floated through long, dark corridors. Human symbols glowed faintly on the walls. The place was quiet, too quiet. They found strange weapons, strange armor. Nothing like the tech used by any current race. Sharp, efficient, brutal. Then they found the data core. Solon plugged in a reader. The screen flashed red. Terran Command Protocol. ARI BRTH. He didn't understand what it meant. He downloaded the data anyway. As they returned to their ship, lights on the Terran ship flickered. Engines hum. And from deep within the shadows, something growled. Back at the Cyrix capital, the signal Solon found was spreading. The data core held footage, real footage of human soldiers. Training in cryo bunkers, preparing, talking, laughing, alive. There was no doubt now. Humanity had returned. Panic spread like wildfire. Old books were reopened. War records studied. Politicians argued. Some wanted peace. Others demanded preemptive strikes. But fear, real fear, had already taken hold in the shadows of the city. A secret agent from the Zarn Coalition watched everything. Her name was Yara. She wore a black cloak and never spoke much. But she watched the footage of the humans over and over, especially the leader who said, "You broke your promise. You turned on us. We didn't forget." Yara was old enough too. Know what that meant? Because her grandfather was the one who betrayed them. She remembered the stories. Her people had been allies of Earth once, fought beside the humans, laughed with them, drank with them, bled with them, and then for power. They sold Earth's location to the enemy. She stood alone in her chamber, watching the stars. "They will come for us," she whispered. "Not to talk, not to forgive. You're in a different part of the galaxy." A young Cyrix pilot named Darrow received a strange message on his console. A code buried deep in the system. It wasn't from his government. It was from the humans. He opened the file. It showed the Terran Eagle. Then a voice played. "To those who helped us stay away, this is not your war. To those who betrayed us, run." Darrow sat frozen. His granduncle had served with the humans. He used to tell stories of how brave they were, how clever, how loyal, but also how terrifying they became when betrayed. Darrow didn't know what to do. Should he warn someone? Should he delete the message? Or was it already too late? On a cold moon near the edge of the expanse, a scientist named Thalos studied old human files. He was one of the few alien researchers who had studied Terran history in depth. He was frightened. "People forget," he told his assistant. "Humans were not just warriors. They were dreamers, artists, builders. But when pushed, they became something else." The assistant frowned. "What do you mean?" Talos looked him in the eye. "They became predators." At that moment, a distant beacon activated on the edge of the system. It was a human scout drone, ancient but active, and it had just sent a message home in deep space. Within a black hole's edge, a human fleet powered up, silent, ready there. Leader, Commander Reese, stood on the bridge of the flagship TNS Vengeance. He looked at the stars before him. "We gave them peace," he said quietly. "We gave them trust." Behind him, the crew stood, men and women in old armor, eyes full of fire. "They gave us fire," he continued. "Now we give it back." The ship turned toward the nearest known system. The war hadn't begun yet, but the galaxy already felt it coming. A storm, a reckoning. And at the center of it, humanity reborn. The ship floated in silence, drifting through empty space. Its name was Razorwind, a pirate vessel. No markings, no flags. It was old, worn down by time and battles, but still deadly. Inside, the crew of smugglers and scavengers sat around the table, laughing, drinking, counting stolen credits. They had just looted an abandoned space station in a dead zone, far from any major systems. The captain, Vectalin, was a large creature with 6 eyes and sharp claws. He was tough, cruel, and smart. He had survived a dozen wars and betrayed even more allies. That's why his crew followed him. But tonight, something felt wrong. They had picked up a strange object near the edge of the station, a small black cube. It had no markings, no power signature, and no known tech origin. One of the crew had found it inside a sealed room marked with old Terran symbols. Found it in some hidden lab, the crewman said. Could be nothing. Could be valuable. Captain placed it on the table. It looked harmless, silent, cold. Then, without warning, the cube glowed red. Everyone jumped back. "What did you do?" the captain shouted. "Nothing. I didn't touch it." The cube began to spin slowly. A hum filled the room. Then a hologram appeared above it, an old recording. A face appeared, human, male, young. He wore armor, a symbol on his chest. "The Terran Eagle," the voice spoke. "If you are seeing this, it means the last vault has been broken. It means the protocols have started. It means we are coming back." The crew stared. The human's face turned cold. "We warned you. We buried our weapons, sealed our soldiers, and let time forget us. But you couldn't leave us buried." Hologram ended. The cube shattered into dust. Then the lights on the ship flickered. A moment later, Shtoman read. The ship's AI screamed. "Warning, human signal detected. Power surge in Deck 4. The crew ran. They reached the hallway and froze. The door to Deck 4 was open. Smoke poured out, and something stepped through. A man, human, wearing ancient black armor. His eyes glowed blue. In one hand, he held a sleek rifle. In the other, a plasma blade that hummed with deadly energy. "Hello?" he said calmly. The pirates screamed. Blaster fire lit the corridor. The human moved like lightning, dodging, cutting, shooting. No wasted motion. Every strike fatal. In 60 seconds, half the crew was gone. Captain Vec tried to lock down the hallway. He slammed the emergency doors shut. Lock it. Lock it now." But the power failed. The ship's AI stuttered. "He's inside the system." The lights turned off. Silence. Then a whisper in the dark, room by room. By one, the crew vanished. Some tried to hide in the cargo bay. Some begged for mercy. One tried to escape in a pod, only to find the controls melted. Captain Vec was the last. He locked himself on the bridge, breathing hard. Blood on his claws. "I'm not afraid," he growled. "I've killed humans before." Then a voice spoke. From behind him, "Not like me." Vec turned. The human stood behind the console, rifle raised. "You hunted the vaults," he said. "You woke us. I didn't know," Vec shouted. "I didn't mean." The shot was quick, clean. Then the human walked to the comms panel. He sent a signal. Back in deep space, aboard the TNS Vengeance, Commander Reese received the transmission. He watched the footage of the slaughter, didn't blink. Another officer stood behind him, helmet in hand. "They're not ready for us." Reese nodded. "Let them feel the fear first. Let it spread." In the capital of the Varn Dominion, the footage leaked. At first, people thought it was fake, a ghost story. But then they found the Razorwind, empty. No survivors, no signs of escape. Just a mark burned into the bridge wall. "We are awake." Galaxy started to panic. Ships refused to enter dead zones. Traders canceled all routes near ancient Terran coordinates. Rumors flew through every port, station, and market. They said ghosts were hunting, that soldiers from another time were walking again, that humanity had not died. They had hidden, and now they were hunting those who disturbed the past. In a hidden, lab on the edge of the Zicker frontier. A scientist named Vola was examining human DNA samples recovered from old war relics. She had always thought humans were extinct, a lost species. But the samples she held in her lab were changing. They were regenerating, healing. Even after 200 years, she stared at the screen in disbelief. This shouldn't be possible. Then the power in the lab went out. The doors sealed. A shadow moved past the window. A moment later, all communication from the lab stopped. The Zyker military sent a team. They found the lab destroyed, scientists dead, samples gone, and one single message scratched into the wall. You should have let us rest. Back in the Sarix High Council, panic meetings turned into war talks. Old alliances were reforged overnight. Fleets activated. Battle groups sent to guard major systems. But none of them knew where to strike. The humans weren't sending fleets. They were sending whispers, striking small targets. Disappearing. They weren't fighting a war. They were preparing one, and they were watching in a hidden chamber beneath a desert moon. A small group of awakened human operatives stood before a map of the galaxy. We have 70 vaults still unopened. One of them said. Reese studied the map. Open the next 5. Only the ones with full squads, and the others? Wait. Let fear do its work. They all nodded. Humanity had once fought for peace, then for survival. Now they fought for justice, and they would not stop until every lie was burned, and every betrayal answered. There would be no peace talks, no warnings, no mercy among the stars. The moon went silent. A peaceful colony orbiting the gas giant Telvanus had stopped sending signals. No warnings, no alarms, just silence. The moon, called Cyrilla, was small, home to scientists, engineers, and a few families. They studied weather systems and gas storms. It was not a military base. It had no weapons, no reason to be attacked. And yet, when the patrol ship Draction arrived, they found the station in complete darkness. Commander Talvek, a veteran of many missions, stood on the observation deck as the crew slowly descended toward the surface. Lights from the ship swept over empty buildings, doors wide open. No movement. He felt uneasy. The pilot said quietly, no response from anyone. Life signs are strange. Strange how? Talvek asked. They're missing. They landed near the main dome. A team of 10 soldiers in heavy armor moved ahead. Talvek followed, his weapon ready, though no one expected a fight. They entered. The station, nothing, no people, no sound. Broken lights flickering above them. On the walls, words were scratched, not painted, but dug in deep with tools. Words written in an old human language. Talvek took a photo and sent it to command for translation. His second in command. Dura pointed to a message near the security door. Look at this, she whispered. It read, We're awake. They moved. Deeper into the station, doors hung loose. Tables were flipped. Computers smashed. Something had happened here, and it wasn't a storm. In the main control room, they found blood. It's not a battle. No signs of blaster burns, but signs of fear. Chairs knocked over. Notes scattered. One recording still active. Talvek played. It, a scientist's voice. Shaking, they came from below. We thought it was just a tremor, but they were already inside. A scream cut the recording. Talvek ordered a full scan of the base. That's when they found the tunnel. It had been dug from below. Not by machines. By hands. Clawed. Powerful hands. Human hands. They followed the path downward. Flashlights sweeping over rock and steel. Then they reached a sealed chamber. It was a Terran vault. A real one. Buried deep beneath the moon. No records, no warnings. It had been hidden long before the moon was colonized. The vault door was wide. Open inside were empty CRYO pods, 20 of them, and next to one of the broken pods was a single mark, a deep cut in the metal shaped. like a winged skull. The symbol of the Terran Special Forces, Talvik, stepped back. "This is bad," he said. Before he could speak again, the station's power shut down completely. His comms died. His team was now alone, in the dark, with something they didn't understand. One of the soldiers screamed from the other room. They ran, but it was too late. Only blood remained. Talvik shouted for everyone to regroup. They tried to return to the ship, but the doors were locked. Someone or something had taken control of the system. A voice echoed through the station. "Calm, cold. Human, you colonized our graves. You built your homes on our bones. You thought we wouldn't notice? Who are you?" Talvik shouted. The voice responded. "A memory, a warning." The lights came back on. For 1 second. Talvik saw a shape standing at the end of the hallway. A human soldier in black armor. Not running, just watching. Then he vanished. The team broke out through a side wall and rushed to the ship. As they lifted off, they saw the ground below them shift. More tunnels, more signs. Talvik sent everything to command. Photos, audio, the Terran Vault location. But he already knew what they would say. Back in the Cyrix capital, the High Council met again. "The footage caused chaos. There are vaults we don't know about," said Counselor Dren. "They're everywhere, buried, sealed, waiting. We need to destroy them," someone said. "And how do you plan to find them?" Another replied. "They're hiding in our systems. They've been here the whole time." "Then maybe we leave," whispered the youngest voice in the room. "Maybe it's too late." On a distant trade station, a message was left on every comm screen across the port. No sender, no signature, just 2 sentences. "Do not open." What? "You do not understand. Do not wake what sleeps." Everywhere people were afraid. This wasn't war. It was haunting. Old scientists spoke on news streams about the Terran soldiers who had vanished at the end of the last war. How some had refused to surrender. How they had buried themselves in secret vaults across the stars. Not to die, but to wait. Wait for the right time, and now. They were rising, in a dark chamber on a forgotten world. A human operative named Quinn watched a screen filled with alien broadcasts. She smiled. "They're scared." Commander Reese appeared behind her. "They should be." He pointed to the map. 5 more vaults had come online. "Phase 2 begins now," he said. Quinn tapped a few buttons. Drones activated. Beacons lit up. Then she said the words that echoed across the ancient Terran network. "Let them remember why they feared us." The council room was full, but no one was speaking. A single video played on a loop in the center, footage from a destroyed moon base. Bodies torn apart. Power systems disabled. Vault doors wide open. And that final message scratched into the wall. "You colonized our graves." Cyrix President Valor clenched his teeth. His scaled hands trembled. "We have to act now," he said. "They're waking everywhere. We cannot wait any longer." Counselor Dren stood up slowly. "We still don't know how many vaults exist. If we attack blindly, we might trigger something worse." "They've already declared war," President Valor snapped. "They're not hiding. They're showing us, and we're doing nothing." The room buzzed with fear and arguments. Old enemies now sat side by side, whispering about a new alliance. Car warriors, Zicker merchants, even the distant hive minds of the Trill offered support. For one reason only: humanity. The word itself was now banned on some planets. News networks were shut down for spreading panic. People who had studied Terran history were being arrested, silenced. But none of that stopped the fear from spreading. In the shadows, agents from dozens of species searched for answers. Vault maps, coordinates, human symbols in ancient ruins. And in all their search, one name kept appearing: Reese, the old Terran commander. No one knew if he was real or just a face used by human AI systems. But his image had been seen in 3 separate vaults, always giving the same message: this is justice, not revenge. The edge of the neutral zone, the Zarn coalition met in secret. The Zarn were once human allies until they betrayed Earth during the last war. Most of them believed humanity had been wiped out. Until now, Minister Yellis, head of Zarn security, stood in front of the room with a grim expression. "We believe humans have a kill list," he said. "And we are at the top." The room went cold. He continued, "We found a hidden Terran beacon under one of our old research colonies. The signal is still active. We believe they are watching us." "Why haven't they attacked yet?" asked another leader. Yellis looked him in the eyes. "Because they want us to know it's coming." Back on the TNS Vengeance, Commander Reese stood on the bridge. The ship floated above the icy world of Drellis Prime, once a human mining colony, now abandoned and forgotten. 5. More vaults had been opened in the past 2 weeks. Humanity was no longer gathering, it was spreading. Reese spoke to his crew. "They betrayed us, the ones we called friends. They left us to burn, to be hunted like animals. We went silent so they could sleep. But now they've walked across our graves and they think we'll bow." He looked at the screen. A map showed the Zarn coalition. "Space? They will learn what it means to create monsters." His voice dropped into a low whisper. "And what happens when monsters come home?" The fleet jumped into hyperspace. In the Zarn capital, alarms echoed through the towers. Ships detected movement in deep space. Dozens of Terran signatures, all heading toward one of their moons. The military scrambled their defenses. 5 destroyers. 2 orbital stations, thousands of troops. But when the humans arrived, they didn't fire. They just entered orbit and waited. A message played on all Zarn channels. It's the same human voice. "We do not strike first, but we do not forget. Die, Stenda." One responsible. Minister Yellis was forced to watch the footage in silence. They knew about his grandfather, Zarn commander who had turned over Earth's defenses to the enemy. Now, they wanted blood. But the Zarn refused to hand him over. 3 days passed. Then, without warning, the human fleet moved. In 1 hour, both orbital stations were destroyed. Not with brute force, but with precision. Hacked systems, disabled shields, imploded reactors. Then the Terran soldiers landed. Black-armored. Ghosts moved through the colony, silent, fast, not killing civilians, not touching innocent workers. They came only for one building, the Zarn High Command. By the time anyone responded, it was already over. Minister Yellis was gone. No bodies were found, just his office chair. And a message burned into the wall. "Debt paid. Balance remains." The galaxy watched in horror. This wasn't war. This was surgical, personal. Humanity was hunting those responsible. One by one, back in the Serix Council chamber, more races begged for peace talks, but no one knew how to contact the humans. Their comms were encrypted, their signals hidden. They responded only when they chose, and when they responded, someone died in secret. Some tried to reach out. A group of old Terran sympathizers, calling themselves the Last Pact, sent a message into deep space. It was short. "We didn't betray. We want to talk." They waited for days. Then one night their station received a response. A small pod drifted in from the void. No weapons, no heat signature, just a black metal box. Inside was a single device. When activated, it played a hologram, the face of Commander Reese. "I remember you," he said. "You stood with us. You fought beside us. We won't forget that. This is not your war." Then the screen went dark. The message was clear. If you were loyal to humanity, you were safe. Everyone else was not. The war hadn't begun on battlefields. It had begun in the mind and fear, and the humans had already won that war. Back on the bridge of the TNS Vengeance, Reese looked out at the stars. "We gave them a chance," he said. "We gave them peace. They chose fear." The officer nodded. "Targets confirmed. Old enemies. At command structures. Betrayers." Reese gave the order. "Let them learn. Let the stars remember who we are." The fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind only whispers. Whispers that grew louder every day. Across the galaxy, one truth echoed everywhere. Humanity was not just back. They were in control. The alarms didn't sound. There were no warnings, no signs of approach. One moment. The sky above the rim world of Droskar was clear, calm, peaceful. The next moment, it was on fire. A fleet of Terran warships dropped out of dark space completely. Silent, shields already charged, weapons ready. They didn't announce their arrival. They didn't ask for surrender. They just opened fire. The first blast took out Droskar's orbital defense ring. In one strike, the entire ring, hundreds of tons of metal and missile platforms, was gone, turned into dust. The second wave came seconds later, 10 missiles. Launched from the lead human ship, the TNS Vengeance, each one targeting a different military zone on the surface. By the time the planetary defense systems activated, half of them were already too late. Cities crumbled, towers fell, military bases went silent. Within 4 minutes, the main command center of Droskar was gone, not captured, not even looted, just erased. From orbit, Commander Reese watched quietly. He stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, arms crossed, eyes locked on the burning planet below. He didn't speak. He didn't smile. He simply nodded to his officers. "They started this," he said coldly. "We finish it." His second-in-command, Quinn, pointed to the tactical screen. "Their outer colonies are trying to send distress calls." Reese didn't even look. Block them. No signals in or out. Another officer turned from her console. "Should we give them a chance to surrender?" Reese's voice was like stone. "No." Far below, on the surface of Droskar, General Kellis of the Cyrix Command crawled out from the wreckage of a command bunker. His face was bleeding. His armor was cracked. Everything around him was smoke, flame, and silence. His cums were dead. His officers were gone. He looked up at the sky and saw a black shape moving above the clouds. A Terran dropship. "Impossible," he whispered. "They weren't supposed to be this fast. They'd studied human tactics, prepared for months. But this wasn't a raid. This wasn't a message. This was war." The dropships landed in 12 locations across Droskar. Each one carried no more than 20 soldiers. But they didn't need more. Terran infantry didn't fight like other species. They moved in silence, in teams, each one with a single mission. Strike, vanish, move again. No mercy. No second chances. One by one, Droskar cities fell, and each time, the humans left the same symbol behind: the Terran eagle, scratched into stone or burned into metal. No demands, no speeches, just the mark. News of the attack spread quickly, but only by rumor. No official signals escaped the system. No media broadcasts. No diplomats. Only fear. Across the galaxy, people stared at the stars and whispered, "They've started." At the Galactic Council, chaos reigned. They destroyed Droska in less than 6 hours. They didn't even take the planet. They didn't want it. A quiet voice said, "They only wanted to show us what they can do." President Valor of Cyrix slammed his hand on the table. "How did they get this strong? They were sleeping for centuries." An old general spoke from the back. "They weren't sleeping. We're preparing. While we built trade fleets and luxury worlds, they built weapons. While we argued, they remembered." A silence fell over the room. Then the Car Warlord stood, his fur bristling. "Enough talk, we strike now. With everything." But no one moved, because deep down, they all felt the same truth. If they moved too fast, they might be next, on the world of Threllis. A small outpost belonging to the Zicker merchant guild tried to raise their shields. They never got the chance. A single Terran frigate dropped into orbit and released. A pulse weapon, invisible, fast, and deadly. It didn't destroy buildings, didn't kill people. It erased data, every Zicker financial vault on the planet, wiped trade records, contracts, debts, currency logs. Gone. In minutes, the Zicker economy lost 30% of its worth, and once again, there were no words from the humans. No contact. It's just one message, printed across every shattered console. You cannot erase betrayal, but we can erase you. Inside a dark chamber deep below a broken asteroid belt, the Terran command had set up a new base, hidden, secure, full of life, thousands of awakened humans trained day and night. No entertainment, no politics, only discipline. These weren't soldiers from a random army. They were chosen, each one trained from birth during the final years of the last war. Each one born for this, in the command room. Commander Reese stood beside a holomap. Red dots marked the galaxy's major powers. "We've hit 3 systems," said Quinn. "The others are waiting. Afraid." "Good," Reese said. "Fear buys us time. Let them talk. Let them make councils. We've seen what their talks bring." Quinn lowered her voice. "What about Earth?" Reese paused. "Not yet. They'll search for it. They'll panic over it. Let them. You don't return until the galaxy is ready to kneel." Outside, the humans loaded drop pods into black ships. No names. No beacons. Just shadows in the void and in every system. The fear grew. There were no heroes rising, no brave warriors standing to fight, because deep down they all knew. You cannot fight what you do not understand, and the humans, the ones who were supposed to be extinct, were no longer understood. They had become something else. Ghosts, predators, apex, species. The age of mercy had ended. And now, the stars belonged to them. The ship was old, hidden and silent. It drifted slowly through a dark corner of space, surrounded by dust and forgotten signals. Its engines were cold and its lights dim. Only one room still had power. Inside, an alien scientist named Varnes sat alone. He had not spoken to anyone in years. He had turned off his communications, cut himself off from the galaxy, because he knew he had been there at the end of the last war, back when the humans trusted the Zarn coalition. Back when peace seemed possible, and he had watched it all burn. Because of him, he had been a young scientist then, the one who cracked the Terran encryption codes, the one who gave Earth's defense system location to the enemy, believing it would end the war quickly. Instead, it ended humanity, or so he thought. Now he sat, staring at the transmission that had reached him 2 days ago. A signal with no source, no trace, just one sentence: "We remember you." He hadn't slept since. His claws trembled as he checked the long-range scanner again. Still nothing. But deep down, he knew. They were coming. Elsewhere in deep space. A Terran vessel moved without sound. No lights. No transmissions. It followed no trade routes and left no trail. Inside, a team of 6 special operatives prepared for a mission. Quinn stood at the center, adjusting her armor. Her voice was calm. Target confirmed. Varnes Zarn scientist, responsible for Earth's final blackout during the last war. One of the soldiers tightened his gloves. "Do we kill him?" "No," she said. "Commander Reese wants him alive." "Why?" another asked. "He's the reason Earth burned." Quinn looked out the window, her voice soft. "Because he needs to remember it." The ship arrived near the dark sector. They located Varnes's hidden station within minutes. He hadn't hidden it well, because deep down, he didn't want to run. He wanted to be found. The Terran dropship landed silently on the surface of the asteroid. Within moments, the doors were breached. Varnes didn't resist. He stood in the center of the room, his hands up, waiting. Quinn stepped forward. "You know who we are." "Yes," Varnes whispered. "You know why we're here. I deserve it." Quinn nodded. "Yes, you do. But they didn't shoot him. They bound him, took him to the ship, and jumped to a new location one kept secret from the galaxy. A black station near the edge of nothing, the Nexus. A hidden Terran outpost. No records, no broadcasts, only judgment. Varnes was brought to a cold room, alone. Then the door opened. Commander Reese entered. He didn't wear his helmet. His face was calm, his eyes sharp. Varnes stood slowly. "I betrayed you," he said. "I gave the code. I knew it would be the end. Reese said nothing at first. Then he walked to the window and looked out at the stars. You didn't just betray us, Reese said. You betrayed peace. I thought it would stop the war, Varney said. I thought it would save lives. It did, Reese said. Alien lives, not human ones. He turned and faced him. You watched as our cities burned. You listened to our signals, begged for help, and you did nothing. Varney's lowered his head. I know. Reese stepped closer. Do you know how many vaults went dark that day? How many families sealed themselves underground because they thought help would come? Varney's nodded. I've seen the recordings. You saw data, Reese said. We lived it. For a long time there was silence. Then Varney's whispered, Why didn't you kill me? Reese's eyes were like ice, because I want the galaxy to see what you did. He pointed to the camera in the corner of the room. This trial will be shown to every system, every race. They will see your face. They will hear your words. He stepped back. They will understand that peace didn't fail. You destroyed it. Varney's fell to his knees. I'm sorry, he whispered. I truly am. Reese said nothing more. He walked out. The door closed. In the command center of the Nexus. Quinn watched the recording being transmitted. Every major channel received it. Every council, every general, every world, they saw the truth. The reason for humanity's silence. The betrayal that ended an entire civilization. And they saw what humanity had become. Not monsters. Not mindless killers. But something else. Something worse. A species that never forgot. A species that delivered justice across the galaxy. Reactions were mixed. Some cried, some panicked, some called it propaganda, but the smart ones knew. The war wasn't about power, it was about memory, and the humans were making sure no one ever forgot again, in the halls of the Zicker Senate. The old merchant lords whispered of peace offerings. In the Cyrix Council, leaders debated full surrender. In hidden corners, former traders packed their bags and vanished to deep space. But there was nowhere to run because the humans weren't chasing shadows. They were chasing names, and they already had the list. The stars were dying, not from age, not from time, but from fear. Across the galaxy, ships went dark. Colonies stopped sending signals. Outposts locked their gates and buried themselves underground because the Terrans were coming, and this time. They weren't hunting planets. They were hunting the idea of safety above the planet of Hestara. The last stronghold of the Galactic Alliance, the sky burned with energy. Fleet after fleet stood guard in orbit. Thousands of ships. Every species. Every weapon known. Waiting, they had seen what the humans had done to other systems, what they had done to Droska, to Zicker, to Threllis. All gone. Not captured, not enslaved, just erased. Now, the Alliance had called every fleet, every elite, unit, every weapon. This was the line, and they would hold it, or die. In the center of the defense ring stood the Flagstar, the largest command vessel in the galaxy. Inside, Supreme Admiral Corrin stood with trembling hands. He was old. He had survived the last war. He knew what was coming. They'll strike the generators first, he said. Then the com towers, then the command. A younger officer laughed. Nervously, sir. Even they can't fight all of this. Corrin didn't answer because he wasn't sure, in deep space. 3 Terran war fleets waited, silent, invisible, inside the TNS Vengeance. Commander Reese stood on the command deck, surrounded by stars. Beside him, Quinn adjusted her armor. All systems ready, she said. Final confirmation, Reese nodded. Let's end it. The humans didn't send a warning. They didn't ask for surrender. They didn't even announce. Their arrival, they simply appeared. 300 Terran ships dropped out of dark space all at once, just outside Hestara's defense ring. Not in formation. Not like a fleet, like hunters. Each one had a target. The defenders reacted too slowly, within seconds. 30 defense platforms exploded. One by one, the humans cut through the outer lines, moving faster than light. Their weapons were precise. No wasted shots. No fear. No hesitation. Inside the flag star, Corrin gave the order. All ships, fire, everything. And they did. The sky lit up like a sun. Thousands of missiles, plasma bolts, ion waves, everything. They had, and for a moment it looked like it would work. Then the Terran ships disappeared, jumped again, changed positions, moved like shadows, and reappeared inside the defense ring. Behind the enemy, suddenly, the Alliance was fighting itself, confused, disorganized, out of position. The Terrans moved like ghosts. Every second, another ship went. Dark every minute, a piece of the ring fell apart, in the middle of the chaos. One transmission echoed across every channel, a human voice, Commander Reese. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He simply said, "You had your chance. You showed us no mercy. Now we return the favor." Back on the surface of Hystara, civilians ran to shelters. Sky shields flickered. Panic spread like fire. The governor screamed into broken cums. Why won't they stop? Because they never planned to. This wasn't about territory. This wasn't about revenge. This was about truth. The truth that had been buried for centuries. The truth that humanity had asked for peace and was given betrayal. Now they weren't asking anymore. They were rewriting the rules. Above the city of Varnak, a massive Terran cruiser descended. Not to bomb, not to destroy. To broadcast every screen, every signal, every channel. Across the galaxy, a message appeared. Reese stood in front of the camera. Armored, silent, behind him. Human soldiers stood in formation, unshaken. Reese looked into the lens and spoke slowly. We were not monsters. We were not conquerors. We were neighbors, friends, builders. We asked for peace. We offered hands. Your kind gave us fire. You taught us pain. You taught us betrayal. You made us into what we are now. You took a breath. Remember this day. Remember what happens when you turn peace into a weapon. This is not revenge. This is justice. This is memory. And memory never dies. The screen went dark. Then the final wave hit. The sky above Hystara cracked. The shield. Dome collapsed. The last defense towers fell, one by one. The Alliance ships surrendered or were destroyed, and within 6 hours, the greatest military power in the galaxy was gone. Not by numbers, not by size, but by will, by unity, by rage controlled for too long. When it was over, the Terran fleet didn't stay. They didn't occupy, they didn't rule. They simply left. And the message remained across the galaxy. Leaders gathered. Some wanted to beg. Some wanted to offer deals, but most said nothing, because they finally understood. The humans were not just back. They were beyond fear, beyond talk. They were the balance the galaxy had tried to erase and failed. In hidden chambers and secret councils, they whispered new names, the Watchers, the Shadows, the Last Judgment. But humanity had only one name for itself, Terran Union, and their law was simple, no mercy among the stars.